2, know your stuff. 3, what's the third one?
Pick up your clothes.
Take off your clothes.
No, pick up your clothes.
Oh, sorry, that's the voice. No, 3, respect everyone from top to bottom.
Right.
That goes so far. I think it just an overall tone of the work environment is when you respect everyone and you hold everybody with regard that they are all part of this process, and you can't do it without any one of them. And then the 4th one was have fun, because we don't have to do this, we get to do this. And so I think people that don't do those things just becomes annoying and even toxic at certain times. And those can apply to any job really. And then then I snuck a 5th one in there, and that was hang up your wardrobe at the end of the day.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's a pet peeve of mine too. We talked about that because and I don't necessarily blame actors, especially actors who start when they're young, because there's sort of that thing where you take off your wardrobe and the next day it's miraculously cleaned and hung up, and you're like, oh, this is what happens.
Dude, that happens in my house.
It's a ghost.
Man, I need to move into your house.
Danielle will kill you.
She'll never find me. She actually came to your house.
But I would say people that it's just there's an unprofessionalism with people, and they can come out in a variety of ways. And the things that really kind of piss me off is when people don't respect those that they think are less than,
right.
Which is bullshit. And yeah, but then there's I'm sure I can think of a lot of different quirks.
I mean, but I think sometimes the things that actors do to get themselves in whatever headspace they need to be in aren't annoying per se. It might be unique to the individual actor, performer, or whatever. But
Oh yeah, there are a lot of actors that have little things that they do before each take.
Yeah.
Some are great, some are annoying. I was in the best one. I worked with a guy named Rex Land, fantastic actor, amazing guy. I did Big Sky with him, and before every take, they would say, "All right, lock it up, roll sound," and then they'd slate and be like, "All right, 37 Baker, take 2," and Rex would go, "All right, everybody, have fun." Before every take, "Okay, everybody, have fun," and it could be like a death scene.
Get your crowd started with chorus, working up the tears.
I wonder how well that worked on CSI.
Laugh your way through, everybody.
Because he was Frank. Yeah.
But then there's also, I'm gonna out Tomo. Tomo does this thing where before each take, he goes, what? Are we in a drum circle now? It kind of can catch you off guard if you're not used to it. I expect it now, but there are just certain things that people do. A lot of a real popular one is the. And those are like acting exercises. I never got trained in any of that stuff, so I don't have any of those things, thank God. But yeah, there's a lot of little quirks that actors do. We're a funny breed. What do you don't do any of that stuff, do you?
Not really, man. I mean, I kind of like, if I'm stiff and need to stretch, whatever, I do that pre-game in the trailer before I ever take the stage. So like, by the time I'm on the sound stage, I'm kind of ready for game time.
Yeah.
If that makes sense?
Yeah, it's like, okay, let's go.
Yeah, I do a little, so anything I do is that.
Yeah.
But that's the same thing for directing too. I mean, like, you get yourself in the headspace, you're ready to go, and then you go.
Oh, also, this is one that I don't even have to be working with people, just that I see on screen that I'm hyper aware of, is actors who look at their marks.
Oh.
It is, I'm so sensitive to it. Even when, so if this is my mark, right? You get a lot of this, you'll see it, like, keep an eye out for it when you're watching TV or watching film, and you get this. It's just that simple.
Yeah.
It's just that simple. And so a lot of times, if they're seeing the ground, they'll do what they call dotting the marks, which they'll take, because you usually have a T mark, right? And they'll pick up all the tape and leave just a little speck of tape, which you can't see, right? So the camera assistants will come up and be like, "Oh, we're dotting your marks." So what I'll do is I'll go and I'll look at the mark and I'll be like, okay, I'm about 2 feet. From
Yeah,
the
your
speaker.
relation to another.
So, yeah, just
thing.
kind of getting my bearings, and I usually will always nail it, right? You take away a mark for some actors, and it's like they could end up over here. And I'm like, how are you that off?
Yeah.
I'm like, and you're not lit. The camera operator's going like, I don't know what.
He's over by craft services. You're a guy with a bagel. I'm not this.
Are we? Is this the marks were gone? I don't know. It's
Sad. Yeah.
But yeah, you'll notice it.
But don't you think that's more from inexperience than, I mean,
Probably.
Because again, it's like the hanging of the clothes thing. Once somebody tells you once, then it's on you to do it right. Like you're looking at your mark, once you get called out on it, you're like, oh shoot.
Well, I also think that just some people aren't spatially aware.
Right.
They can't judge that relation to objects or people in a scene, and they just miss their marks. I mean, I've literally in the middle of a scene just gone over to the actor or actress and just was like, okay, we should go again.
And just so you understand, that matters because maybe I'm now blocking him, or maybe I'm not in the light, or maybe they can't focus on me, I'm too close to the camera, or whatever. It's not just arbitrary. There are specific reasons why things are lined up the way they're lined up. So if you're off by 4 inches, it could be a worthless shot.
Yeah, I had an actress one time literally stepping me like directly in front of the camera. And I'm like, how are they gonna see me? If you're standing right in front, she's like, what? Yeah, there's a lot of little things. You ever get a chance?
Open the Pandora's box.
Yeah. And another thing. All right, go ahead and pick somebody.
All right. You're right there on the aisle. That's what happens when you get pointed at.
That's what happens when your hand is up and you get pointed at.
Hi, bet. I was just wondering, like, what are some ways that you guys tell people that you love them without actually saying, I love you? Like, things that you do.
That's kind of weird. We talked about that a little bit last night. That's funny. It's question.
What's that?
That sounds like it.
Well, I know there's sort of like there's a book that talks about love language, and are you somebody who gives gifts? Are you an acts of service guy? In the grand world of that stuff, I'm an act of service guy. In terms of how I parent, how I husband, how I am a part of my own nuclear family, it's getting things done. It's how I am, I think, the best version of myself to my kids and wife. And so that's, I'm definitely an active service guy.
That's funny. I'm what's the other? I should know this.
There's the
What are the
other
other ones?
Words
Words
of
of validation.
Gift giving is one of them. Touch. Yeah, we ain't touched. We figured that out last night. That we're not. In fact, I was talking to Jason Mann about it. There's certain dudes who like hug and like, I love you, man, I love you. And other guys where the back of your hand brushes their elbow, they're like, whoa, sorry, man. and thus describes him, me, and man's.
Yeah, I would say that when, at least for me, and certainly for Danielle, she is, like you said, acts of service. So it's, if I see something where I'm like, oh, that didn't get put away, or the trash is sitting there, or dishes are clean, but not or whatever it is, that's not something I want to do, but it's something that I will do because I know it means something to her. And so, yeah, I would say that's probably in the same boat. All right, yes, sir.
Hey, so I just had a quick question just for each one of y'all. As far as you, Jensen, I was wondering, what was it like working on like a set of My Bloody Valentine 3D? And as far as you, Richard, I was wondering, are you a fan of like My Bloody Valentine 3D or?
Yeah.
Wow.
Acquiring minds, my
It's
friend.
just awkward. I'm more of a fan of My Bloody Valentine 1D. When we got into the second D,
Yeah. That's too many Ds.
And then you can't watch 3D if you haven't seen 2D because the plot falls apart. I only have one of the Ds.
Are we
I
talking
will
about
say,
Richards or
I'm
Dicks?
glad you actually bring up the fact that it was 3D because the experience on set was very much unique because of the way that it was filmed. Have you ever shot anything in 3D?
I have not.
So I think there's a different method now. I think the technology has advanced since we made that movie. But it was pretty new when we did it. And so what they do is they have one camera that points at you, and then they have like a mirror, like a reflector in front of that camera with another camera pointing down. So you have two cameras like this, but this one is just slightly off, which creates the, that 3D image. So just the whole apparatus was really unique and different, not something that I was used to. One camera hanging and another one, and there were bigger cameras. Like now, we're using this new Sony camera.
Right.
Well,
Yeah.
it's like this big.
Were you
The whole
shooting my
thing.
Bloody Valentine on film or digital?
We were doing red cameras.
Okay, so new digital.
New digital. And again, with that, there was something to do with the aperture and the photography aspect of it that required like 3 times the amount of light. So it was really, really hot on set because those lights put out so much heat. Although now even the lighting is different. Like now it's all LED, but it used to be the really hot burning like tungsten or incandescence. And so for that, it was the camera was just really weird. Setups were longer because they had to add more and more light. But other than that aspect, it was all pretty much similar to everything else.
Have you seen how they do that Day for Night now, which they did in Nope and in House of Dragon, which is a similar idea of the 2 cameras, but one is shooting infrared, and then one is shooting normal, so they shoot during the day, and then utilize the infrared color palette or whatever
saturate
to make
it
it
dark.
to make it
Really?
yeah. So it still looks kind of crappy, honestly. I think like the technology ain't there.
Right.
Like you watch
But it's getting there.
It's getting there. It's going to be, it's like the nascent days of what this is going to be, where we're no longer shooting at night. But like or not always, but like there were scenes in House of Dragon where they did day for night. I'm like, that's great. It looks like a black screen. Like you can't see the people walking and talking.
Yeah.
Like,
They just oversaturated.
yeah, it ain't there yet, but it's kind of a cool and interesting technology.
Yeah, it's been interesting, just as, because for many years, the technology was the same. It was film, it was 35mm film. When we started shooting Supernatural in 2005, we were shooting on 35mm. And nobody has that experience anymore unless you're, doing a Tarantino movie and he wants to shoot it on, film. But
They do it as a novelty act now.
it is novelty, and all of the processing houses have closed up. Like,
Well, you know the term "print that take" because they would print the take. Now every take is printed because it's already just ones and zeros
So
in a memory
digital.
bank.
Yeah.
But the idea, so they'll say circle the take now, like I'll circle that one in your list of takes. But the idea of printing the take, they would not send to the developer takes that they knew they weren't going to use
That's
because
cost money to print. Yeah. And there was also check the gate.
Yeah.
So people would go in with a flashlight and look. The camera system would look into the lens and make sure that there wasn't a hair or a piece of dust or something that would have. And every now and again, there would be, and you had to go again.
Because it would put a strike on the emulsion. It would like drag through.
Right.
The
And
film.
so, young guys these days, they're never going to hear this.
Oh, when it runs out. Yeah.
which is called a rollout.
Yeah.
It's also called the camera system getting fired.
Yeah.
So if you're doing a long take and they don't have enough film in it, what happens is the film runs all the way through, and then that last little strip just hits the thing, and so it's just and that's called a rollout, and that means, well, there's no more film, so I guess we'll stop there and reload.
They also will never know the angst of having the giant camera with the film bag on their shoulder.
Yeah.
Because that was a whole different animal. Cameras are featherweight compared to what they used to be, because the actual medium they're using to capture the image is, again, ones and zeros, not actual film on these giant mags.
Well, and there were massive, the whole industry of rigs that camera operators would use. Steadicam operator, there would be, we call it the shower cam, but it's basically a kind of a backpack type thing that has an arm, comes up here, that pulls down on a cord, clips onto the top of the camera, and takes the weight so the camera operator can just handhold it. Now people they just pop it on their shoulder because it's so light.
Right.
So it's, yeah, the technology in filmmaking has advanced tremendously since we started working in this industry, and but even more so, kind of going back to Blake Valentine, like I haven't done a 3D movie since, but I hear now that the technology is so much more advanced that it probably doesn't feel much different than just shooting regular.
You know what technology hasn't changed since we started? And I find this interesting, and people who don't know sets and go to sets or watch behind the scenes thing, sometimes they're surprised to see this. But cameras still require a second person to focus them. We live in a world of autofocus everything, but the camera operators don't focus the camera. There's a separate person watching on a separate monitor with a separate system which goes back to Jensen's comment about hitting your mark. Those marks are measured from a standing point, from a solid point. The camera operator, the focus puller, has measured how many feet Jensen's going to walk forward and knows that when he hits that mark, he's at 7 feet from the camera. So if he overshoots, this guy's now guessing.
Yeah,
Because he's like, oh, shoot.
he's looking into a little monitor, going like, I think that's sharp.
Yeah.
He's off his mark. I'm just guessing. There was my favorite. We had a camera. Well, and this is just another advancement of technology. Is those focus pullers now they're operating remotely. It used to be the focus puller would be right there on the camera, looking at a little monitor next to the camera operator and pulling focus, like on the camera itself. We had a focus puller on Supernatural, Dean Weber, and which was great because every time they said Dean, he and I both were like, yeah. But my favorite one is I walked up to a mark and I hit my mark. I just wanted to point that out. I hit my mark. But I'm, if Dean's right here, the camera's right next to him, and I'm looking this way, talking to whoever, I can just see out of my peripheral that the Dean does this. He goes, so if you're me, he's like this. And then he does this. And I just stopped talking. I'm like, am I not on my mark? What? Yeah, what? He's like, oh, you're fine. Yeah. I'm like, what? What's the theatrics?
His whole emotional journey.
I'm watching it. I'm like, yeah.
Those focus pullers, that is a job I would never want. The pressure is unbelievable. A buddy of mine who's now a very successful DP talks about his early days of focus pulling. And on film, and depending on the light, as Jensen mentioned, if you are shooting in low light or a slow speed, man, the focus will go out easily if you overshoot or undershoot.
Yeah, the what's it called, the focal plane or the
It narrows the focal plane.
yeah. So like if you, this is the focal plane and I'm just even so much, just a little bit further or a little bit away, then it goes soft.
Yeah.
Is what they call it.
And he did this music video where he had to do, and was a very famous person, he had to do this one shot that he was focus pulling on this very slow push in on this singer. And you've seen the video, because everybody on the planet has seen the video. It's that shot of, oh gosh, what's the big singer who the national anthem so beautifully, Whitney Houston. It's the shot of Whitney Houston when she goes, and John's like, and then you do the slow push in. He's gotta just keep.
She's gotta
there's no
run.
edit. It's just a long push in on her when she pops up and sings that shot.
Oh, wow.
And to this day, I'm like, dude, you've done a shot that everybody on the planet has seen. That's cool. He's like, yeah. And I lost my hair doing it. Because Whitney was going to give us one. It was a tough day.
Yeah. Again, it goes back to respect everyone that you work with, because everybody has a very crucial part of making film. It's not just the actor or the writer or the director. It is all of these people. that have to be incredibly talented and good at their job in order to make what we do.
Right, all right, so you know what?
Let's
All right,
just-
now way over there in that quadrant, you young lady,
White
with the
sweater.
white sweater.
Good morning. As you continue, Jensen, as you continue to move forward with your craft, is there a character or an opportunity that you haven't had a chance to participate in yet that you would really like to exercise or try? A character you'd like to play?
Like a role?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, there's a lot of things I think I'd love to do, and things that I have no interest in doing. You know, not to bring up a sore subject, but you know, I've always wanted to do a Western, and I had an opportunity that unfortunately didn't work out. So I think I would love to have another crack at that at some point.
Well, I tried to get you in a Western.
Yeah.
You said no, and the Western's good.
I didn't say no.
To Old Henry.
I didn't say, but no, it was a scheduling thing because I was already signed up for Rust.
Was that right?
Yeah.
Still.
Still, I agree. It was a good movie.
You guys never seen Old Henry? Yes. He was going to be Stephen Dorff's role.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Not
But
sure.
Mr. Pacey had to go sign on to another Western.
Well, when Baldwin calls you and he's like, hey, I want you to be in my movie. And then you know, it was exciting. And then, no offense to you.
That's the worst Baldwin I've ever heard.
I can work. I got a good Baldwin, but it just takes me a minute.
Yeah, it
No,
worked
so
out so well, didn't it?
I would love
With the press that
to
movie got.
get on a horse and play a cowboy because since I was 6 years old, I've always wanted to do that. So that's one, and maybe Batman. All right here in the front. Yeah, we'll get you a mic. Right there, Grayson. Hi there.
You had several scenes where you were playing pool a lot, and you were really good at it. I just wanted to know if you were actually good at playing pool. I play a lot of pool
Do
in
you?
my pool league, so I was just curious.
I'm good enough to play. You know, I'm not great. The stuff that you saw, some of it was me, but then they also had like a pro that was on hand to do like any massive trick shots. But I think they had lined up a couple of trick shots that they wanted me to pull off, and I did pull them off like on camera. So yeah, I'm decent, but I certainly wouldn't call myself really good. But I'll play it for money. All right, I think we got time for one more. Me? All right, let's go. Okay, all right, I see you guys waving. Yeah. Yes.
Hi.
Hello.
You had some wonderful guest stars. I mean, Amanda Pappan and a lot of the others, but I've been waiting months to ask you this question. What's Scooby-Doo really like?
What's Scooby-Doo? You know it's a cartoon, right? You know we don't actually work with a cartoon dog. No, he's a real bitch. Yeah, never comes out of his trick. Doesn't hang his clothes up. I'll tell you that much. No.
That collar's on the ground.
That collar's on the ground,
Every day.
just in the corner of his trailer kennel.
Somebody should come in and erase it for him, because it's drawn. And redraw it the next day.
Anytime you're doing that kind of like animation stuff with real life, it is a little tricky because obviously you're playing to something that's not there that will be in there later.
But that's the same as acting with Jared. Or
That's true. Yeah. In fact, preferably, I would rather work with him not there. Like today, this is. I kid. What is it? It's 11:30. We're fine. We can make jokes now. No, it just kind of go back. It is a test of creativity for the actors when they have to, effectively do things or pretend to do things when there's nothing to really, when there's just a C-stand with a tennis ball on it, and you have to act like that's something that's animated. But it's all part of the craft. And some people are good at it, and some people are better at it. I think I'm just good at it.
You guys did a lot of that though with like, I mean, it's not animation, but the show had so much visual
Special
effect
effects,
to
visual
it
effects,
that
yes.
you'd be fighting a monster that wasn't there a lot.
A lot.
Or, you know, or a guy wearing a black suit, but literally the head is gonna be 10 feet above him. You know what I mean? Like you guys had to do that a lot.
Well, anytime I like swung a fire poker at a ghost, that clearly wasn't there, and so I'm just whiffing in the air and hoping that they're gonna make it look cool in post. And right, sometimes they didn't. You know what I wish would have not, which would have just been visual effects is my fight in the church where I just hung like a doll. It was like the worst experience on Supernatural ever.
The marionette fight?
Yes, yes. It was Team America. Oh, God. If I could turn back time. All right, guys, thank you so much for being here. We'll see you later.